Anti-Blackness is like Filipino food. Some of it is found in our colonized past, and it's always been present growing up in our family traditions, our community culture, and even in the media we consume.
There's this idea, particularly in the Philippines, that if you're darker, you're working out in the fields, right? If you're light-skinned, you don't have to work in the field. So there's classism that is tied into the color of one's skin.
Filipinos are naturally dark. In fact, the indigenous people of the Philippines valued their dark skin as spiritual and celebrated through religious ceremonies.
How do we value dark skin now?
Am I beautiful even if I'm dark?
Why are we told that lighter skin makes us more beautiful?
If your standard of beauty is white, then how do you look at me?
Is my nose too big?
Mom, you better talk to Dante. He said when he makes money, he's gonna fix his nose.
Yep, that's me and my mom, apparently quoting me. Have you ever been a part of seemingly harmless, funny banter? Anti-Blackness is a learned behavior.
When we say we're just old-fashioned, it's widely used, whether we know it or not, as in to excuse our anti-Blackness behavior. At a family dinner, my grandfather is sitting across the room from me, and we were talking about having kids, and he said, just as long as they're not Black. And it was even more alarming because it was excused right away, because Grandpa's a good man.
Can good people be anti-Black?
Sometimes even good people can carry anti-Black behaviors, and it has to do with the culture we grew up in.
Anti-Black attitudes can be as small as pointing out one's darkness as a problem rather than a beautiful trait.
The role of anti-Blackness is beyond pervasive in our families and our communities. So much so that most of us are silent about it.
Why did I grow up feeling like I had to change myself to fit in?
The assimilation factor that many of our Filipino families adopted when they came to the States made it even harder for them, for us, for you, to look in the mirror and say goodbye to the whiteness that you see there.
This is about fully examining and interrogating ourselves first, then our family, friends, and community.
These conversations must begin at home, not just on social media where your inner circle already agrees with you, but with family members who might not share the same perspectives when it comes to race and privilege.
We as Filipinos have the privilege that we will never face the same racism as Black people do. We need to recognize that privilege and acknowledge that our struggles are tied to Black struggles.
Where do you think our civil rights came from?
Filipinos should care because our very rights and freedoms as Filipino Americans are a direct result of the Black liberation movements of the past and of the present.
You can take action on a larger scale by supporting the Movement for Black Lives, the Bulacan Center for Filipino Studies, Lead Filipino, AAPI Women Lead, Kabataan Alliance, and the National Alliance for Filipino Concerns, or NAFCON. By support, I do mean money. I also mean people power. I also mean your voice and your story. Bring your lolos and your lolas, your manangs and your manongs. Bring them all to the party. Let's learn together. And if you are Black and Filipinx like me, tell your story, at least to your family. It is 100% on you to put that noise, the systemic racism behind you, and walk into a more loving, accepting version of you who's ready to co-create a brand new world with the rest of us.
So here we are. We have the ability to be the ancestors that our descendants will look to for guidance, to be on the right side of history, to be the first discussion against whitening soaps, to be that constant affirmation to our children that their noses, hair, skin, and body types are beautiful. And when that time comes, and believe me it will if it hasn't already, that we're faced with a question by our Black brothers and sisters, does my life matter? What will you say? Black lives matter.
Do you see me differently because I openly support Black lives?
Do you only want Black music, but not Black people?
Don't we all just want our kids to be safe?
Why are we told that lighter skin makes us more beautiful?
If I'm Black, does that make me less Filipino?